Hey there, and welcome into this episode of the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. I've got some updates for you about the future of the podcast in this school year and beyond, and we're going to get right into it right after the intro music.
Welcome to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast with Jake Miller.
Hi there. Thank you for tuning in today. So right now, while I'm recording this, it is Sunday evening, February 27th. You're not hearing this on February 27th because it'll be a few days before I find the time to publish it. And you'll understand momentarily why it got published at some later date. I'm guessing Tuesday, March 1st, but we'll see. Anyhow, I'd like to tell you about my weekend. As I said, it is Sunday, February 27th, and I'm wrapping up a weekend, and I'm going to tell you about it. On Friday night, after driving home from school, a peaceful 40 minutes with some podcasts, which I always enjoy my time alone with my podcasts, my wife and I drove another 50 minutes with our oldest of our three kiddos to his indoor baseball scrimmage. It was freezing in the complex. The view was bad, and my son didn't get any hits and didn't really do anything exciting in the field, and this is a shining endorsement of that evening, wasn't it? It wasn't all bad, though, because we picked up one of my favorite dinners, a Godfather sub from DeBella's Subs, to eat while we watched the game. Saturday morning started bright and early with my 7-year-old son's basketball game. I coach his team. We lost, but he's grown so much as a basketball player, and my favorite part, he's become so much more patient about accepting feedback and being proud of his incremental improvements. Plus, afterwards, we had Panera breakfast, and I got an Asiago bagel, which is like the best. Can you tell that I love food, by the way? Every story I tell has got to be along with what meal I had at that time. Anyhow, next up, slightly less fun, okay, way less fun. We spent a few hours moving back into our house after a few days at my in-laws while our hardwood floors were refinished. The floors look beautiful, but they smell atrocious, and it was so much work. I think we'll have fans running for the next 5 months to get rid of that smell. While we're working on that, my wife and I are unpacking like crazy and moving things and cleaning things. My daughter was at rehearsal for her school musical. She's been working so hard on this. I mean, like over 100 hours easy. I can't wait to see the show next weekend. It's Madagascar Jr. She's a penguin. It's going to be adorable. That evening, my other son, the first one who had the baseball game the first night, he had a basketball game too on Saturday. And I coached his team as well. It was our last of the season, a heartbreaking 2-point loss in a game that came down to the last second after we made a valiant comeback. I'm super proud of those kiddos, especially my son, who made absolute strides on the court. At the start of the season, he was timid on the court, but now he's like a rebound machine. Our reward for that game was dinner out at one of my favorite spots, Taco Tonto's. You know I got to keep you up to date on our weekend eating adventures. Most of us had double-decker tacos. So good. Oh, delicious. And I added a really good hazy IPA from a local brewery, which was exciting. After that, we finally saw the Spider-Man No Way Home movie. It was really good, and we had the theater to ourselves, so that's a win-win. And I think that covers Friday and Saturday, but just Friday and Saturday. I mean, that's a lot for 2 days, right? But we still had another day of the weekend left. And so today, Sunday, we celebrated our youngest's upcoming 8th birthday with a taco-themed party with his friends at Fun and Stuff, a local arcade kind of mini amusement park kind of place. He and his friends had an absolute blast, and it was so fun to watch. The pizza at the party, super gross. I have to tell you about the foods, and it was gross. But we rebounded that evening with dinner from Raising Cane's. I love their chicken fingers, so good. And we paired it with an episode of Secrets of Sulphur Springs, which is a family favorite, so we enjoy watching that together. One of my favorite parts about it is our youngest always has to get up and move and sit by one of us whenever something suspenseful happens. I hope he never grows out of that. And that brings us to now. No, wait, I almost forgot. I spent an hour or so disassembling part of our dryer and cleaning out because it smelled like burning, just to discover it's coming actually from the smell of the floor stain in the air. Ugh. All right, now that really brings us up to now. A Sunday night, kids in bed, sitting and reflecting on a busy weekend. A busy weekend with fun family memories accompanied by homeowner responsibilities and some good food, of course. And for me, my kids' sports and other activities too. And that's what a weekend is supposed to look like, right? But I'm having a hard time looking back at it and focusing only on the joy. Instead, part of me is feeling frustrated. Why? Because I didn't do any work. I didn't record any podcast episodes, film any YouTube videos, write any soapbox moments. I didn't send any newsletters. I didn't queue up any new social media content. I didn't schedule any interviews or create any edu-gifs. I didn't check my email once. Worse yet, get to inbox 0. I didn't post any of the few infographics with content for my book that I haven't posted yet. I didn't work on the last few pages of the online resource hub that's provided to people who own my book. I had double-decker tacos. I watched a great movie. I watched my son play bumper cars with his friends at his birthday party. But part of me is disappointed that I didn't advance my efforts as an EdTech author, speaker, podcaster, and blogger. And it seems like my priorities are out of whack, right? Save that stuff for the weekdays, Jake. And I know you guys feel the same way. You're educators. At the end of your weekends, sometimes you feel bad you didn't grade any papers or anything like that. But tomorrow, instead of working on those things, those blog posts and those podcast episodes and those infographics and that online resource hub and scheduling interviews for the podcast, tomorrow, instead of working on them, I'll teach 4 periods of 8th graders about mitosis and 1 period of 8th graders in my Fab Lab class about bitmaps and vectors and the design process. I'll also have 1 Skype a Scientist session with a small group of students and a biogeochemist. I say it wrong. Biogeochemist. I'll also throw in 1 IEP meeting and 1 counterpart PLC meeting with the other 8th grade science teacher in my building. Then I'll drive back home, put back our refrigerator and stove. They're still moved for the floor refinishing, and they get to stay out until tomorrow, so we'll move them back tomorrow night. Then I'll quickly eat dinner and head back out for basketball practice for my son's team. And that's probably familiar for a lot of you, right? You work your tail off during the school day, and then you get home, and you're busy with parent life or homeowner life or whatever it might be in the evening. But when do I fit the ed tech stuff in? If I have to do the teaching stuff to pay the bills, and I have to do the dad stuff because, it's the best part of my day, what time do I dedicate to my passion of supporting teachers with ed tech? And right now, Sunday night, I'm trying to figure out, do I get this episode edited after I'm done recording and published tonight after I'm done recording? Since I won't have time tomorrow with those things I listed, maybe I should do it tonight. Or do I stop after I'm done recording this and go watch Ted Lasso with my wife? Spoiler alert, the answer is Ted Lasso, but I don't feel 100% great about the decision. Part of me feels like I need to focus on this. So I've got myself a predicament here. I've got a job that I do during the day because I have to do something that pays the bills. And I've got a rich, full family life and marriage that takes up the rest of the day. And that's great. But for many teachers, that's everything. And that's a lot in and of itself, So maybe I need to stop the ed tech stuff because that's the third part. But I love it. You hear me interview guests on the show. I light up. My voice changes when I talk to these people about this stuff. I enjoy it so much. Many of you have seen me present. I'm like a kid in a candy store when I'm presenting. It's one of my favorite places to be. A lot of you have interacted with me on social media, and I crave those connections. Those of you that have read my book can probably feel it in my writing. I love talking about this stuff. So I don't want to stop. But there's not enough hours in the day. So I need to reevaluate my professional life. I need to see if I can find a way to pay the bills and get to share my love for helping teachers with EdTech integration and keep my family life going the way it is now. I'm having so much fun with my wife and kids and coaching my son's basketball teams and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to stop that. So I need to find a way that I could bring in that funding, that money for the family, and yet keep getting to share that love of EdTech integration. And that will require, you guessed it, time. So it pains me to say so, but I've got to put the podcast on a hiatus. Temporary, I hope. But I really can't say for sure. I have to figure out what my next step is. Maybe it'll be as a tech coach for a new school. Maybe it'll be as a self-employed ed tech jack of all trades. Maybe as an employee for an ed tech company. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe you know. Or maybe you have some great advice or ideas. If you do, reach out, please, because I don't know what's next at the moment. What I do know is that I need time to figure that out. So I've got to set a few tasks aside, and that'll include this podcast. It's a really tough decision for me because I love this podcast. I'd rather free up time by giving up staff meetings and taking the trash out and having discussions about testing data and playing mediator in fights between my children or my students or preparing paperwork for taxes, but those aren't options. So I'm going to pause or slow down on some of my favorite things so that I can sort this all out. And as I said, that means I'm going to pause the Educational Duct Tape podcast. So this isn't goodbye, because I'll be back, but I don't know when. So instead of goodbye, I just like to say thanks to the loyal Duct Tapers. Thanks for all of your support over the last few years. It's been a crazy ride on this show, and having your support has just been so cool. I hope it's not too long before I'm in your earbuds once again. So I'm jumping back into this recording 9 days later from when I recorded that first part. And yes, the first part is all still true. But I just want to say I recorded that on February 27th, decided I didn't want to finish publishing it that evening because I wanted to relax and watch TV with my wife before bed, and couldn't come back to it the next day or the next day or the next day or the day after that or a whole week and 2 days after that. So here I am on March 8th. Preparing to publish this episode. It'll come out tomorrow on March 9th, I think. And so I'm adding this recording in just to show, 9 days later, I finally am getting this ready to go to publish. And it's not for lack of desire. It's for lack of time and energy, and for respect for the other things in my life, like spending time with my wife and kids. They're just so important. So I just wanted to add that little piece here. So once again, to those of you who've been listening to the show, especially since the beginning, thank you so much. Your support has been unreal. Your excitement has been so cool. I remember those early days of putting the podcast out there, wondering if anybody would listen. And not only did some people listen, lots of people listened, and they said lots of really nice stuff. So it's been so much fun, and I'm not tired of doing it. I don't have time to do it right now. So that means that I'm going to make every effort possible to come back. So again, if you have suggestions for what next steps I should take, I would love to hear them. And again, it's not goodbye. It's thanks. I don't know when, but I'll be back. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. Please visit eduducttape.com to join the discussion, share possible topics, inquire about being a guest, or contact Jake. And remember, duct is spelled with a T, not a quack quack K.